Hi everyone, Jacqueline here. So today we're going to talk about Easter cactus. I actually managed to find two at Walmart today. These are the conditions that they came in. So they aren't the greatest, but they're still alive. So that was impressive for Walmart. I did see a lot of gnats flying around the cactus and the plants in general at Walmart. So these most likely could have gnats in them, and we are going to deal with that today. But I want to share with you how these look and how different they are from regular cactus here. You can see that the clads are more round. They aren't as pointy than, say, your Thanksgiving cactus. Some people call it Christmas cactus or holiday cactus, a variety of names for it. Some people say Christmas cactus is different than Thanksgiving cactus. Some say they're the same, and I believe there is a definite difference between them. But today we're going to focus on the difference between the Thanksgiving cactus and the Easter cactus. So the first thing will be the clads. You can notice the clads are totally more rounded, more oval in shape. You'll see here, I'm going to show you the difference up close between the clads, and then I'm going to show you the difference in how the buds look right away. Now, the care for these is pretty much the same as you would for any other blooming cactus, whether Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Easter. I treat them all the same. It's just that these are very unique compared to the rest because of the blooms in particular. I think they're very cool. And I could only find red, but there are pinks and whites out there. You can get a variety of colors in these and an orange. So let's look now at the difference between the plants. So this is your typical Thanksgiving cactus. This is one of my favorites. I love the color of this one, and it's doing really well. It's given me a few blooms now. Not a lot of blooms, a few blooms, a few buds. So this is your typical Thanksgiving cactus. Look at the buds here on the Easter cactus. You can see they're more pointed, they're long, they're not as scalloped as the Thanksgiving cactus. The buds are actually larger on the Thanksgiving cactus than they are on this particular plant. They're more narrow and long, and like I said, they're more spiky. So quite a bit of difference there in the buds. Now let's look at the clads. You can see this clad here, how pointy it is. It's definitely got some key markers on it that indicate that it's definitely not the same as the Easter cactus with these spikes on it. And you'll see here at the Easter cactus, if you compare the two right side by side, they're very round and oval. So there's your distinct difference between the two side by side. I think my personal preference is that the Thanksgiving cactus is far more beautiful than the Easter cactus, but they each are unique and they each have their own characteristics that make them beautiful. Also, I want to point something else out here, which I think is a good example. Sometimes you guys wonder how you should water your cactus. What's a sign a cactus needs water? Well, I have a sign for you right here. See this? If you look at this petal closely, and I'll bring it up here so you can see it. Look at it. It's all shrunken. It's wavy. You see on the back side how it's all kind of veiny looking. That is a cactus that needs a good soaking. So just so you know, if you're wondering if your cactus needs water, that's a telltale sign that it needs water when it starts doing that. So there's a few other leaves on it that are doing the same thing right over here. They're starting to get dry and get all wrinkled looking on the back sides. So it needs a good drink. But anyhow, back to the Easter cactus because that's our focus today. But I just wanted to show you those few things to help you out if you're growing any sort of cactus in the home. So these ones are having a few issues since I got them. Number one, I should have bought them when they first came out. I didn't know they had them at Walmart. So they've taken some abuse. You can see some spotting in here. There's water damage in the plant. You can see right there. Some pest damage too. There's some holes in it. This branch here is actually shot. So we're going to just pick it off. And what we're doing is we're just going to go into the plant here. If you can see it. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see a little bit better. Hard to zoom out when you got a Band-Aid on your finger. Anyhow, I'm just going to twist it off because it's not healthy and it's falling over. So all we do is give them a quick twist. And out they come, just like that. Now, You can see the damage on this. So I don't like to keep branches like this on a plant when they're this damaged, when there's holes like that in them. So that's gotta go. And we'll just pick that off, and then we'll examine this one. There is a bit of damage up here, so we can take that off. And then we can save the rest and put in water. If you don't get a clean break on these, it's okay, because you can still put it in water like that. The other thing we want to do, since we're kind of saving this branch, is take the flowers off and put it in water. So you can let it dry for a day and then put it into water. And you can start another plant. So that is how I deal with that kind of damage on a plant. Pretty simple. We're going to take the tags out of this. You can see here that it says it's an actual Easter cactus. It's basically telling you that it needs sunlight. For water, not a lot. And for temperature, it likes anywhere between 5 and 25 degrees Celsius, or 41 to 77 Fahrenheit. And fertilize moderately. So when they're in bloom, like any other cactus that we talk about, Christmas or Thanksgiving, we only fertilize when they're not in bloom. When they're in bloom, we don't need to fertilize. So we will take the tags out of both of these, and then we are going to clean up any of the buds on these that are spent. And we're just going to twist them off, just like that, and give it a good, healthy start. And this is just how I deal with these when I bring these plants home. Because number one, if they are sick, I want to deal with that immediately. Number two, if they're infested with any sort of gnats, I also want to deal with that and start out clean. So I'm going to show you how I do this. There, you can see that I pretty much cleaned up most of them. Anything spent, I take off. And then I just kind of inspect the plant for more damage or anything inside going on, anything in the dirt moving. Sometimes there's spiders in the dirt too. You just never know. And when they're completely done, you just pop them off, just like that. The Easter ones are actually easier to pop off than the Thanksgiving cactuses or the Christmas cactuses. Just because of their shape, I mean, they're really easy to pop off. Okay, then I clean anything out of the soil that's around it, and then we'll go do the same thing with this one. I'm going to take off anything that's hanging there, anything dead in the plant, and then I'm going to go around and inspect for any blooms that are finished, take them off, and then get anything out of the soil and throw it immediately into the garbage. I don't even put it into the recycle bin because we don't know if they're sick. And that looks a lot better already. Next step I like to do is take them out of the pots. Now I know people say Christmas cactus like to be root bound, and that's true. However, I don't want a sick plant coming in and affecting my other plants or my seedlings in the house, particularly at this time of year. It's very risky. So we take it out of the pot, and we're literally going to look at the plant carefully because it's quite loose at the top, and see if there's anything crawling in it. And I don't see anything. But to be safe, I'll put this back so you can see it. I'm going to take off a lot of this dirt. It is wet at the surface. I water from the bottom because you keep the surface dry, you have less gnats. So we're just going to take as much of this off we can. Yes, it's going to shock the plant, but it's for its own benefit. And I can smell like the soil smells like really moist. And I definitely don't want this plant sitting in water, because that's what happened. They get overwatered in the store. So we're just going to clean this right out as much as we can. Right down to the root ball. This seems really harsh, you guys, and you can decide if you want to do this or not. This is just my method of how I handle plants that come into my home. And I still may miss a gnat, but I have another solution for that. So when you get all this dirt off, you can, if you have an insecticidal spray, you can spray down this root ball immediately, okay? And that will kill a lot of the gnats. But if you don't have an insecticidal spray to do that, you can use soap and water. I don't like that method. I find it saturates the soil too much. So I'm actually going to use a mosquito dunk once theirs are cleaned off. And here's some damage there on that. I'm going to take that off too now that I've seen it. You see some bug damage there? Something's been chewing on that. And then I'm just going to inspect the underside. See, we've seen a few things going on here. So we definitely need to treat this plant. So I'll set this aside and we'll clean out the next one. So my next step now is I'm going to pot those cactuses up in my clay pot. And it has a drainage hole there. This is a seed starting mix. You can use cactus as well. I have both. This just happened to be handy. You can see it's very lightly damp. So this soil is not wet at all. It's got lots of perlite in it. So it'll give it good oxygen. A few pieces of wood per usual in it that I missed. But for the most part, it's looking good. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some soil in the bottom of this pot, probably an inch or so, because we want to prop these up. We don't want too much. And I'm just going to kind of base it on where they're going to fall in there for height, and we'll give it a bit more. And I did not cover the hole. I don't cover the hole. That's just the way I do things. You may disagree with that, but that's my method. And we prop it in there like that. And then we come through and we put the other one in on the other side, and then we're going to backfill. Now this soil, this is my seedling mix. It has been treated with boiling water to kill any gnats or anything in it. And I do that, I mention that in every seed starting video pretty much. And it is the method that one of the viewers told me that they use, and I tried it and they were so right. It works like a charm. So I've been using it ever since. So to that viewer, and you know who you are, thank you. I've been using your method ever since, and boy, has it made a difference in seedlings and in houseplants in general. So we're just going to put this in the pot, and I'm going to fill around the plant and just lightly lift it up. And we're just going to tuck that in and firm it in the middle and around. And it'll eventually branch out. But this helps, like we could actually have another plant in the front here. There is room because you want to pack them pretty full. Okay, just wipe it off. And you can see how that is looking. Much improved. Okay, I'm just going to set that down. Now, to deal with any scale or bug issues on the plant, I'm going to take some alcohol and I'm going to take some little cotton pads, and I'm just going to go through those areas where I seen a bit of scale and just give it a quick wipe. And this is 70% alcohol, and this is just to clean up those areas. So like right here, I'll bring it up so you can see the scale on it. We're just going to go through and we're going to wipe it down. Now I want to mention something else about the soil. Just so you guys know with the soil, you can mix your coffee grounds into this. No different than any other cactus plant. You can follow my previous videos on how I do that. I just haven't been perking a lot of coffee lately, so I didn't have any to mix in, but normally I would. But I may give it a drink later on once it's established with some coffee. Lately I've been doing a lot of decaf, so you know, that makes it more interesting, but you can give it the grounds from decaf too if you perk coffee. So that's not an issue. It's all good. Eggshells are good for calcium. So I'm just going around here and I'm wiping anything off the plant and making sure it's good and clean. And I'm just going to go deep in here and look for any issues and give them a wipe. And that also will kill any eggs or anything that could be on the plant. Sometimes there's, you know, spider eggs on these plants. If you're squeamish to spiders, I have found spiders in the root balls of plants. Because we don't know, you know, a lot of times where some of these plants are coming from. Sometimes they're coming from greenhouse, sometimes they're coming from overseas. You know, in one of the hot climates. So I like to go through and wipe them down really good. And I haven't showed you before wiping them down in any other video, but this one has a lot of marks on it. And you can see it's starting to look better already. So there is just some debris on it. And if I do another one, I just take another cotton ball to wipe it down. We'll just do a little bit more here. Make sure we get it really well. This will not hurt it. You're actually doing preventive measures here to keep your plant healthy. And then you're actually inspecting the leaves as well at the same time. All right, if you see gnats on your soil, there are a number of methods you can use to deal with it. You can use an insecticide like I mentioned. You take the soil off like I did. You treat the leaves with alcohol to kill anything on the leaves and to wipe down any scale or anything you find on there and inspect the plant well. You can also take your water can like this. I put about a cup of water in this, and you can literally use the mosquito larvae killers. But you don't use a whole one. We're going to open this up and I'm going to show you how much I'd use, because it's not a lot. And all we're doing with this is we're killing anything on the surface of the soil. So if you have an issue, get some of these, but just break a piece off or scratch a piece off. You just take a corner off. And I'm just going to grab my pruners and cut a little chunk. So we're just going to cut a chunk like that off the corner, and you can see how it breaks up. So that's okay. We're just going to take a bit and put it in the water, just like so. You don't need a lot because we're only using about a cup of water, you can see in there. And then I'm just going to shake it around and let it dissolve. And then these go a long way. These are really expensive. Like that's $8.99 for 4 of these. So if you just use it in chunks when you need to, you can make it go a long ways. If you're watering a lot of plants, then you might want to use a whole chunk and use a big garden water can and do it. But for what we're doing here today, I'm just doing one plant. We don't need a great big piece of this in the water. It's too much. Okay, now that that's had a couple minutes to dissolve, I'm just looking in there. You can see there's some pieces in there, so we're just going to shake it up. That's better. And I'm going to save this because I'll have a little bit left. And we're just going to wet the top of the soil right around the root of the plant, just to kill anything that could be in the root ball of the plant that the soil I didn't get removed. We're not going to oversoak the plant at all. So that's all we're doing there, and that will kill anything in there. So that'll kill any larvae. You can use a yellow sticky if you need to as well, but I think that should do it. Now, for those of you that think I lose the soil out of the pot, this is how much soil I've lost out of the pot since watering. Sorry, this is the amount of soil I've lost out of this pot by planting it like that. That's what I mean. We don't want to block the holes on these plants because they need air to breathe. Every time we cover something to prevent soil from coming out, we're also preventing it from getting air into the root system. So it's okay outside in the garden to cover it if you so need it, but not for houseplants. They need the room to breathe. That's also why we're using clay, because clay breathes. So this will keep the plant from being overwatered. If you use clay, it will help it to breathe out all the way around. And this is a dollar store pot, so this whole thing probably cost me $3. Well worth it for doing plants. We don't need to spend a lot on the clay unless you want something fancy. It's personal preference, but I think they look good without it. So now I have dollar store gravel. And just to make this beautiful, we're going to add some gravel into the top of this plant. And that also helps keep the gnats down. So I'm just going to sprinkle it in. And this is a smaller, I've used larger gravel and smaller gravel. I kind of use whatever I find or whatever I prefer. And we're just going to sprinkle this around. We'll lift up the branches. And it looks really nice already. So if you got one of these plants for Easter, you're very lucky because I don't see them very often. So this was really nice to find this. Walmart's a really good source for finding cactuses at any time of year. You might be able to find them at a florist shop too, but I find them, they go really fast. Especially Easter because they aren't out very long. Christmas they're out longer. All right, and then we just brush these stones off the leaves. Pick out anything that fell off, and there we go. We have a beautiful Easter cactus, all cleaned up and ready to go to its favorite windowsill, where it can get some bright indirect sun. And if there's anything broken on it, you can take those and start them for new plants. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I love cactus, as you know, and I was happy to get my hands on them. And even though they were in bad shape at Walmart, look at how nice it looks now. Huge difference. And I'll just zoom in so you can see it up close, how pretty it is and how much better it looks. Nothing like a good cleaning and potting up to make a plant look healthy. So I hope you enjoyed this video, everyone. And I don't know if I'll have another video out on the weekend, but before Easter, but I might. You never know. We'll see how things go. Family responsibilities and being a holiday and everything. You just don't know how busy you're going to be. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great Easter. And for those of you that are watching the channel and have not subscribed, please give me a subscription. I'm like 14 people away from hitting 2,000 subs. I know it seems small in comparison to some of the big channels, but for me it means something because it means that people are liking the content, they're watching the content, and they want me to keep making content. So give me that like and give me that subscribe, and let's see if we can hit 2,000 here. Really would be nice if we could hit it by Monday, but I'll take whatever I can get. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you get an Easter cactus, you're very lucky because they're beautiful. Bye.